the situation Britain finds itself in today. Mr. Blair had the guts to apologise for wrecking the economy. But he can't only take all the blame. The previous Conservative governments and Labour governments ran a deficit situation where we had accumulated a large deficit. Because when Mr. Heath signed us up to the European Common Market, he also signed away a lot of our manufacturing. And whether you believe that or not, that is the truth of the matter. Hi, I am Barry J. Thornton. As a Bible student for 45 years, I have become very disturbed about what I see. I am 70 now and talk to men far senior and older than me who have also held senior positions in government and in the military. And I ask if they have seen anything like the lies, deceit and corruption on such a giant scale. And the answer is no. I haven't either. The news is even skewed today. I am watching reports from specialists that show armies on the move all over the Middle East, yet nothing is said in our media, and we are disarming. One has to sort of be amazed, quite frankly. Are we heading for a military defeat? I would say yes, because we've got nothing to fight what we're facing right now. The Eastern Mediterranean, for instance, is like a traffic jam. There's Russian ships there, they've got 11 of them. They've got American aircraft carrier fleet there. They've got Turkish ships, they have Syrian ships, they have Iranian ships. Everybody's there. And why? To help Syria? Yes, maybe. But also, the State of Israel has found 3 trillion cubic foot of gas off Haifa. And this is a lot of wealth. A lot of wealth. And then on land, they have found 250 billion barrels of oil, which if we put in some sort of perspective, the Saudis have 260 billion barrels of oil, barrels of oil. So here we are. We've got a very, very strange situation, and we'll look into this as we go along in here. We are linked and anchored to an EU which is doomed. The EU is attached to the euro, both of which are doomed to fall. The euro will stagger on because more mayhem as the dream turns into an even greater nightmare. I mean, this mayhem is astounding that we see. I mean, how many more nations have got to fall? There's only one man there that's actually standing up and shouting and sort of saying, and he's right every time. I mean, I've listened to his talks. If you want to, go to YouTube and put in Nigel Farrage, and I've listened to his talks, and he's revealed stuff I didn't know, and I'm pretty well versed in international affairs. But the thing is that when he says that Greece is going to go down, and it did, and then he said that Spain is going to go down. And then they said they've sorted that out. Van Rompuy and Barroso said they've sorted that out. He said, no, you're deceiving yourselves. You don't need 100 billion, you need at least 450 billion, and then that is the whole reserve fund gone. So they've had about 13 EU financial meetings, which drags our Prime Minister off to these meetings. And each one they come out and say they've sorted the problem out, only to find it's worse. And now it's worse. I mean, today, the Spanish bonds sold at 7.5% each. I mean, this is out of the world for a country. They can't continue like that. They know it, and the central bank in Europe knows it. But here's the worst part. Nigel Farage referred to Italy. He said, Italy is truly massive, truly, really off the scale. I think he mentioned in one of his discussions over 2 trillion. Now, the man was a banker, so he knows what he's talking about. He's not like most of our politicians who say what they want to say to try and calm things down. He's actually telling it like it is. So if that is 2 trillion, Well, that is like an atomic bomb. Each one of these steps starts off and gets bigger. It went from Ireland, Portugal, and then we've got Greece, and then we've got Spain. Now we've got Italy. How much bigger can it get? Well, I can tell you how much bigger it can get, because next in the queue could be France. Because with this Holland Prime Minister or President now, I mean, all the rich are running for the doors. A lot of them are coming to Britain. So, what do they expect? Does anybody think that they're going to start businesses in a situation where you're taxing people at 75% plus the rest? Do they honestly think that? They're out of their mind. I've been in business, and I tell you something, when the government gets like that, I start getting out, and that's exactly what they're doing. If they don't, they're mad. The government, in other words, is stealing from them to keep others in comfort. They don't realize how difficult it is to run a business, I can tell you. What is the EU costing us? The EU is sucking out of Britain over 200 billion annually. I really mean over 200 billion. I'll prove it a little bit later on. We have a 52 billion trading deficit. The red tape and additional food costs and manufacturing costs, another 120 billion. That's 172 billion. The fact that hundreds of thousands are flooded in for benefits, plus on top of that, which I haven't put this down here, we're spending another 17 billion on giving our membership fee annually, which incidentally, according to the accountants for the Europe is 92%, up to 92%, unaccounted for, as they kindly say. And then, of course, hundreds of thousands have flooded in for benefits in this country, and when they go back, they've got rights to them. I mean, how long can we continue like this? The collapse of our manufacturing is based by manipulation. When the Right Honourable Edward Heath, ex-Prime Minister, rest in peace, signed us up to the euro, he also signed away our manufacturing engineering base. Otherwise, he wouldn't get a yes from de Gaulle. He only got that when he gave that assurance. It was announced in Parliament, this was in 2010, that our already low manufacturing base in 1997 was 720 billion, and by 2010 it was 710 billion. So it just looks like we've only lost 10 billion. We haven't only lost 10 billion, and here's why. We have lost 490 billion annually. If you extrapolate 720 from 1967 for 13 years by 3% annually compounded, our manufacturing should be at least 1.2 trillion, if not more. If you then deduct the 710 billion of our manufacturing in 2010, you'll find that we are losing 490 billion annually. I mean, this is absolutely crazy. And this is all planned. Is 720 billion only worth 208 billion today or in 1997? If you reduce the 2010 figure of 710 billion backwards by 3% for 13 years, then the like figure for today's manufacturing back in then, when it was 710, would have been 288 billion. That shows you how far back we have gone as a nation. So for those who keep on saying the EU is good for Britain, consider the above. No wonder we can afford nothing. Beautiful yet unproductive. The once productive north has been turned into a jobs desert. Formerly productive areas are parks that no one can afford. Really nice parks, really good. Norway and Switzerland and Iceland are excellent models. As you know, Iceland was in serious trouble and now doing very well outside the euro. These nations that have chosen not to become part of the corrupt EU and euro are doing well. Norway has the highest standard of living in the EU, if not the world. They've kept their oil and they kept their fish. We seem to have lost our oil, and plus we don't have any fish left because the EU wrecked our fishing stocks. They wouldn't listen. We kept on saying we cannot differentiate between one type of fish and another with our nets. And they say, well, that's tough. So you put the nets out, they bring in all sorts of fish. The all sorts of fish that are not on the list have got to be thrown back, already dead. So then they've got to go out fishing again to get now the cod or whatever they've got on their list. I mean, you couldn't write it. It's ridiculous. We need an Oliver Cromwell. We need to take our own future back in our own hands before Britain is ruined. We need an Oliver Cromwell. At least he knew which side he was on. Farrage+Hannan. Right now I can see no one who has the strong views of Nigel Farrage and Hannan. Nigel is UKIP and Hannan is Conservative. Both these men need our support, especially Nigel, because he's the only one who has the ear of the media and speaks out on behalf of Britain. Go to YouTube and insert Nigel Farrage to hear what he's saying. Frankly, I would hate to be in his position to stand up in front of that hostile audience and say what he says, but he says it fearlessly. But a day of prayer. But more than anything, pray for Yahweh to change us from this terrible situation we find this nation in. We need a national day of prayer. We are being disarmed. We are financially bankrupt. We are surrounded by lies, deceit, and we have seen it in the newspapers. We see it in the banks. We just see it all over. What on earth can we do? Thank you very much for listening.